By 5:45 a.m., my driveway was buried under nearly 14 inches of fresh powder. The kind that looks peaceful from a distance but turns into concrete if you don't deal with it immediately. I had work to get to, livestock to check, and a long private road that only I maintained. So at exactly 6 a.m., I fired up my snowblower. It ran for maybe 45 seconds before my phone started vibrating. Then again, then non-stop. I shut the machine off and checked the screen. HOA president. 6 missed calls. That's when I knew this was going to be one of those days. Quiet hours apply to everyone. I live on a 40-acre parcel at the edge of a mountain subdivision called Silver Pines Estates. The HOA loves to brag about being luxury wilderness living, but the truth is simpler. A bunch of million-dollar homes squeezed onto land that used to be mine. I sold portions of the property years ago. What I didn't sell was my remaining land, including the only access road they used to reach the county highway. At the time, the developers begged me for an easement. They promised cooperation, respect, minimal interference. I believed them. That was my first mistake. The HOA president, Linda Crawford, stormed down my driveway in knee-high boots like she was marching into battle. She didn't knock. She banged on my truck window. "You're violating quiet hours," she snapped. "It's before 8 a.m. I rolled down the window slowly. "Linda," I said, calm as frost. "It's snowing. I need to clear my driveway." "You need to follow HOA rules," she said, waving a printed packet. Snowblowers are classified as construction-level equipment. Prohibited before 8. I stared at her. "This isn't an HOA road." She smiled the way people do when they think they've won. "The easement agreement says you're subject to community standards." I knew that was a lie. But I also knew something else. If Linda was bold enough to ban my snowblower, she hadn't read the easement nearly as carefully as she thought. The fine that crossed the line. By noon, the snow was still falling. By 2 p.m., my driveway was clear, because I ignored Linda and finished plowing. By 4 p.m., an email hit my inbox. HOA violation notice. Fine. $1,000. Reason: noise disturbance, unauthorized equipment use. That's when I stopped being polite. I didn't respond. I didn't argue. I walked into my home office, opened my filing cabinet, and pulled out a thick manila folder labeled Access and Easement Agreements, 2009. The easement gave the HOA conditional access across my land. Conditional, meaning if they violated specific terms, including harassment, obstruction, or interference with lawful land use, I had the right to suspend or revoke access pending remediation. They didn't just interfere. They fined me, on land they didn't own, for equipment they had no authority over. I called my attorney. He laughed. Then he said 5 words that still warm me on cold mornings. "Want to make this educational? Revocation day." The snowstorm ended overnight. The next morning, Silver Pines Estates woke up to something new. Barricades. At the entrance to my road, the only road connecting their 67 homes to the highway, stood a locked steel gate. Bright red signage read, "Private road, easement temporarily suspended. No trespassing. Violators will be prosecuted." I was halfway through my coffee when my phone exploded. Linda called first, then the HOA board, then homeowners, then someone called the sheriff. I was ready. "You can't do this." 2 deputies arrived mid-morning. I met them at the gate with paperwork neatly organized in a binder. Linda stood behind them, fuming. "This man trapped an entire neighborhood," she shouted. "People can't get to work. Kids can't get to school." The deputy turned to me. "Sir." I handed him the easement agreement. He read, then reread, then sighed. "This is a civil matter," he said, "and it appears he's within his rights." Linda's face went pale. "This is retaliation." "No," I said calmly. "This is consequence." I pointed to the violation notice she'd issued. "You fined me for using equipment on my own land. That constitutes interference. Section 4.3. The deputy nodded. "If you want access restored," he told Linda, "you'll need to resolve this legally." She screamed. Actually screamed. The neighborhood panicked. By afternoon, the HOA group chat leaked. People were furious. Not at me, but at Linda. Delivery trucks couldn't enter. Emergency services had to reroute through an old logging road. A realtor called to ask why property values were temporarily compromised. The HOA board held an emergency meeting. They invited me. I declined. Instead, I sent a letter through my attorney. Terms for easement reinstatement. Immediate withdrawal of the $1,000 fine. Written apology from the HOA president. Formal acknowledgement that HOA authority does not extend onto my land. Amendment to easement removing community standards, language. Reimbursement for legal fees. Public notice to residents clarifying fault. They had 72 hours. Linda's last stand. On day 2, Linda showed up at my gate again. This time without bravado. I was just enforcing the rules, she said. You enforced imaginary authority, I replied. You embarrassed me. You fined me, I said. On my land. She tried to threaten lawsuits. I reminded her the easement was a privilege, not a right. She left in tears. That night, the HOA board voted her out. The agreement. By hour 68, I had everything. The fine rescinded. The apology letter, grudging but written. The easement amended and notarized. Legal fees paid in full. And best of all, a community-wide email titled, Important. HOA Authority Clarification. Linda's name wasn't mentioned, but everyone knew. I unlocked the gate the next morning. Snowplows rolled in. Life resumed. Aftermath. Spring came. The HOA hired a new president. Quieter, smarter. They stopped bothering me. They waved when they passed. Sometimes they brought cookies. As for snowblowers, the HOA updated their rules. Quiet hours still exist, but there's a new clause. Essential maintenance equipment used on non-HOA property is exempt. Funny how that works. Epilogue. This winter, the snow came again. Heavy, relentless. At 5:59 a.m., I stood in my driveway. At exactly 6 o'clock, I pulled the cord. The snowblower roared to life. And not a single phone rang.